I'm 89 years old, and there's a name I still say quietly when the house is empty. It belongs to the closest friend I ever had, and to the mistake I never fixed. At this age, time doesn't feel like it's moving forward anymore. It feels like it's thinning out, like a room emptying one chair at a time. I'm not telling this because I want forgiveness. I don't even know who could give that now. I'm telling it because when you get this old, the noise fades. What's left is very simple and very sharp. Most days are quiet. I wake up early because my body doesn't let me sleep late anymore. I make tea I barely taste. I sit by the window and watch people I don't know walk dogs that won't remember them long either. In the afternoons, my thoughts drift backward whether I invite them or not. They always land in the same place. On a friendship I treated like it would wait forever. His name was Samuel. Everyone called him Sam. We met when we were both in our early 20s, young enough to believe time was something you spent, not something that could run out. We worked at the same factory on the edge of town. Long shifts, loud machines, hands always smelling like metal and oil. Sam had a laugh that came from deep in his chest. It filled the room even when he wasn't trying. We didn't talk about big dreams back then. We talked about work, about rent, about what was for dinner. That was enough. We'd sit on the steps after our shifts, shoulders touching, too tired to move. Sometimes we'd say nothing for 10 minutes straight. That kind of silence only works when you trust someone completely. When my father died, Sam was the one who stood next to me at the funeral. He didn't say much. He just stood there, steady, like a post driven into the ground. When his mother got sick, I drove him to the hospital every Thursday night. We'd sit in the car afterward, windows cracked, listening to the engine cool down. Neither of us knew what to say. But we were there. That's what friendship was to me then. Presence, not performance. The trouble didn't start with anger. It started with pride. I got promoted at work in my early 30s. A small thing, really. A title. A desk instead of a locker. But it changed how I saw myself. I started staying late, started wearing cleaner shirts, started thinking I was becoming someone. Sam was happy for me. At least I think he was. But I began to notice things. How he'd still clock out on time. How he didn't talk about advancement. I told myself I was just ambitious, that wanting more wasn't a flaw. We still met for coffee on Sundays, still joked the same way. But I started correcting him more, interrupting, explaining things he hadn't asked about. I don't think I realized I was doing it. Pride is quiet when it's settling in. It doesn't announce itself. Then came the argument. It was about something small. Money, I think. Or work. Or maybe politics. I remember the feeling more than the words. Sam said something that made me feel judged. Or maybe I was already judging myself. I snapped back. Sharp. Smarter than necessary. He told me I'd changed. I laughed. That's the part that still makes my chest tighten. I laughed like he was being dramatic, like he didn't understand the world anymore. He went quiet. That should have been the moment I stopped, asked him what he meant, listened. Instead, I doubled down. I told him I was just growing, that he was stuck. The look on his face wasn't anger. It was disappointment. That's harder to forget. We didn't stop being friends that day. Not officially. We just slowed down. Sunday coffee became occasional. Occasional became rare. When he called, sometimes I was busy. Sometimes I let it ring. I told myself we'd catch up later. That real friendships didn't need constant tending. I told myself a lot of things. Years passed the way they always do. Quietly, without asking permission. I got married, had children, moved to a different part of town. Sam sent a card when my first child was born. A simple note, messy handwriting. Hope you're well. I'm proud of you. I read it quickly, set it aside. I meant to call him. I always meant to. Life filled up. Work, bills, schedules. When you're busy, delay feels reasonable. It doesn't feel like abandonment. The last time I saw Sam was at a grocery store. We were both older then, both carrying baskets we pretended weren't heavy. We stood awkwardly between the produce and the bread. He asked about my family. I asked about his. He'd never married, still lived in the same small house. I felt something then, a flicker of guilt or tenderness. I said we should get together sometime. He smiled politely, not eagerly, not hopefully, just politely. We never did. A year later, I heard he was sick. Cancer, fast-moving. I thought about visiting. I really did. But I waited. Didn't want to intrude. Didn't want to reopen old awkwardness. I told myself he had family, doctors, support. I told myself there would be time. There wasn't. He died on a Tuesday morning. I heard about it through someone else. I didn't go to the funeral. I don't have a good reason for that. Only explanations that sound thin now. Shame keeps you very still. Years kept moving. My children grew. My wife passed. Now, here I am. There are moments in the day when I forget everything. Then there are moments when I remember too clearly. I remember Sam's laugh, the way he leaned slightly forward when he listened. I remember how safe I felt sitting on those factory steps. What I didn't understand then is that pride doesn't just push people away loudly. Sometimes it just makes you wait too long. There are things you can fix late in life. Apologies you can still offer. Doors you can still knock on. And then there are things that close quietly and stay closed. I don't imagine reconciliation anymore. There's no fantasy of making it right. There's only acceptance, and the weight of knowing I chose myself over a friendship that asked very little of me. If you're listening to this, I won't tell you what to do. I don't think life works that way. I'll only tell you what I wish I'd understood. Time doesn't warn you when it's about to remove someone permanently. It just keeps going. And pride doesn't feel dangerous when you're young. It feels like confidence, like progress. By the time you realize the difference, the person you need to hear it from may already be gone. I don't have many years left. That's not sadness anymore. It's just fact. Some nights I say Sam's name out loud, not as a prayer, just as proof that he existed, that the friendship mattered. If this meant something to you, sit with it for a moment. That's all. I'm 89 years old, and this is the truth I waited too long to say.